really caught me by surprise a little bit. Everyone feels they have a God-given right to print their own money and security without any regulation whatsoever. The ICO is the only reason why your project is able to be funded, then it's probably not going to last as a project. ICO phenomenon really caught me by surprise a little bit. And a lot of the altcoin creators wanted to do something a little bit different, wanted to play around with the technology, and some of those altcoins had value. Didn't think anything of it, but now we're in a situation where everyone feels they have a God-given right to print their own money and security without any regulation whatsoever. And I think it's starting to become a bit of a problem. Everyone is coming up with any project as long as they can make these tokens and sell them to investors. I don't think there's many ICOs worthy of investment. Some of them make sense if you have an actual product behind it, not some idea for the future, but an actual product, and you can get investment, and you're just doing these ICOs to help move these tokens around the world without the regulation that is needed, and you can enter new markets with it. But you need an idea, and the money should be there without it. If the ICO is the only reason why your project is able to be funded, then it's probably not going to last as a project, because people are just buying your tokens in order to sell them to the greater fool as soon as possible. The only ICOs I kind of like are the ones that the token only has one purpose, to allow people to invest in the project that couldn't invest in it before. If you were able to invest in something like this before, then the ICO isn't going to bring much. I do see a big bubble on the horizon, very similar to the 1990s IPOs that ended with the dot-com crash, where all a company had was a fancy website, no real development of the idea, even if the idea was sensible, yet their stocks were trading at up to $100 a share. This is pretty much where we have the ICOs right now. It's not all that innovative. We've been here before, and I'm sure the next set of technology will bring us here again. So what are some of the ICOs that I look at favorably? Well, one of them is actually, it's called the BCAP token from Blockchain Capital, which is a VC fund in the US. The VC fund was going to raise the money from high net worth individuals either way. I forgot how much they were raising. Let's say they were raising $100 million from high net worth individuals, which is the nice term of saying rich people. So rich people understand risk much better. And even if they didn't understand risk, rich people have the ability to lose lots of money and they'll still be okay. This is why certain investment opportunities are only open to rich people, because they understand the risks and they are able to lose that money. Now, people that aren't rich, that haven't made a lot of money in the past, they feel that they are being cheated by not having the opportunity to invest money in speculative projects. In reality, people that give their money to VCs lose more often than they gain. Very few VCs are able to consistently bring people money, no different than high net worth trading or hedge funds. Most of them don't survive beyond 5 to 10 years. And they're also only open to rich people, because when rich people lose money, no one really cares. But when a lot of ordinary citizens lose money, bad things happen. Everyone screams that the government should do something, and the government does things that aren't very favorable for the next 50 years because everyone gets very, very upset. So in this particular ICO, the money was going to be raised from high net worth individuals, but a small portion of that, the raising of that money, was converted into a token in order to allow a small percentage of people that are outside America to participate in this kind of high net worth investment through a VC. But all the money that came in, the money is being used to fund blockchain projects through a venture capital firm. So there is an underlying price to this token based on a real model, a real working model that's been with us for a long time. So nothing is really being made up. The money for the ICO isn't being created out of thin air, as we can say. And even though these tokens are trading at about double the valuation of the VC investor returns, that's just the mania of the ICO. The other good news to this is that if the price of this token ever falls below what the VC fund is actually returning, then the people running the VC fund will happily buy it back from people because they know how much money is being returned by the fund. So all these tokens did were create a small portion of the fund that is being openly traded instead of being locked up for multiple years like the rest of the money in this round of funding. So that's one of the ICOs that seems fairly legit and fairly honestly made. So that one gets a plus. Of course, everything is built on Ethereum, which gives me a little bit of doubt because I'm skeptical about the technological survivalness of Ethereum. I think there are some problems with its scaling, and I have been a critic of Ethereum in the past. But putting that aside, the ICO idea for the blockchain capital token seems to be good. Another thing that I like in ICOs is if the ICO is used for crowdsourcing money for your project, but at a very not too generous way, but you know exactly how much money you need to get your project off the ground. You don't want to go to traditional VCs, or perhaps traditional VCs turned you down, and you want to still fund your project. So it's more like a Kickstarter, but with an ICO. But for those, again, I recommend companies, actually you give up some part of your company or you give it up as a debt instrument. People should know exactly what they're buying and how they're going to make that money back. You are not just trying to raise as much money as you can for a project you yourself even barely understand. So if you use a token specific and you explain to people this is just our starter money and here is how this is the kind of product you will get once it's developed, not as a speculative token to resell, but people are actually buying in because they want the product, not so they can immediately resell the investment. What I don't like in ICOs is application tokens. This has been the craze lately to avoid regulation. You have to claim that you're selling these tokens. They're going to have a fluctuating price because they'll be openly traded on the market. But you need this token in order for the product to have functionality. So this is what we call app tokens or functionality tokens. To me, this idea does not make any sense because you don't want your product to only function on an internal token or a currency. I try to explain this to people by saying, where would we be today if companies like Amazon only accepted Amazon stock in order to shop on Amazon? or Netflix only accepting Netflix stock in order to watch movies, and eBay only accepting eBay stock in order to bid on products. What these ideas are doing are they're turning all of the users of that platform into speculators in the price of that platform and turning everybody into gamblers. So before you decide whether you want to buy the shirt from Amazon, you now have to think about the value of Amazon stock and if that shirt is going to be cheaper tomorrow just because traders are pumping the price up or down. And I can't see any company surviving like that. The most important thing for any company is the stability of the price of their product. And when your product is constantly fluctuating in value, your product will never get any traction. So I think those ideas are totally misguided, and any ICO that is doing that, I try to educate them and tell them that it's a bad idea. But no one listens because they just see the dollar signs that come with selling the ICO to initial investors, most of whom have no interest in the company and will simply just resell that token to people with no regulation, people that have no age restriction, people that have no net worth restriction. They'll just sell it, they'll make their money, and they'll wash their hands of it. So we'll see how it all ends.